Hey, everybody. Thank you very, very much for joining us once again. I want to apologize for not going live for the last couple of weeks. I've been in Shanghai and Hangzhou and Yiwu. Plus, we were in Vegas. We've been all over the place. So I haven't been posting live. We're going to get back on it with our breaking news and much more important, these webinars. And today we are blessed to have Brandon Andrews from the Private Label Insider. It is a brand new online magazine that's coming out. And this is geared exactly where the hockey puck is going. Just like Wayne Gretzky said, you got to know where the puck is going. Amazon and online marketplaces are gearing towards private label and away from RA. So, Brandon, if you can introduce yourself, tell them just a little bit about you and your history and how you ended up in this crazy space of ours.
Sure. Well, appreciate it, CJ, for being here. Love speaking with you and your audience about this publication and what's coming up. We're super excited about it. But really, my background was in the corporate world, and so I wanted to get away from that. It was, overworked, underpaid, the kind of the typical setup from a corporate standpoint. And so we just happened to meet someone actually here locally that had just started selling on Amazon. They're actually in the RA and OA space, and so they were teaching others how to do that. And just really through the course of a series of events, I got introduced to someone who really a few years ago, they were just a couple years into their business of building a private label business on Amazon. Now, we know 2 or 3 years ago, it looks very different than it does today. There's lots more sellers. And like, as you mentioned, everything is shifting towards building reputable brands on Amazon's platform. That's what they're looking for. And so we kind of, through a series of events, ended up in the private label space. We loved it. We fell in love with the model and the opportunity to build long-term sustainable income with building brands online. And so for the first 10 months of us building our business, we dumped all of our profits back into our business to grow it and scale it as fast as we could while I was still working in the corporate drudgery. And then we got an opportunity to actually do it full time. And so since 2014, we've been selling private label products online. So it's been a fun ride.
So that's great. Where are you located? Where in the country are you?
Yeah, so I'm in Springfield, Missouri, where today it is like 30 degrees and tomorrow it'll be 65. So everyone is dealing with sinus infections and all that fun stuff in our part of the country. But we love it. We get to see all 4 seasons and get to experience those.
I got to tell you, we're having the same thing here in New York where it's spring break here. I mean, it's April, right? And we had snow a couple of days ago, and we're expecting snow again tomorrow. This is absolutely insane weather.
Yes.
Also, on a personal level, Brandon is just as smart as I am with 4 children in the background.
That's right. Yeah, we have 4 ranging from 10 all the way down to 1. And so they keep us busy. That's for sure.
I got to tell you, I'm really glad. And my wife now works with us in human resources. I am really glad I am out of the baby making business. I've just been out.
Understood.
All right. So tell us about the launch of the magazine. Tell us about some of the initial contributors. Tell us about some of the goals of the publication.
Sure. So the Private Label Insider was really kind of born out of a desire to cut through the noise, to cut through all of the information that's out there that may or may not be reputable, may not be vetted. And we wanted to be able to create something that private label sellers that sell on Amazon, and maybe a little off Amazon too, but primarily on Amazon, we wanted to create a publication or a digital magazine that they could use really kind of as their strategic guide to continue to grow their business. So I think of, for sellers that are just starting out, what do I need to be focusing on? And that's difficult. Now, I was even thinking about coming from the corporate world. I was more of an employee. I had a supervisor, I had a manager who would help guide the decisions within our department. When you shift over to being your own business owner, to being an entrepreneur, you wear all of those hats, and that's difficult to do. And so I know for us, when we first started out, it was difficult to know what to focus on. And then for even advanced sellers that are wanting to scale and grow their business, this publication is designed in such a way where it's consume the content and implement into your business now. And it's relevant, exclusive content. This is not content that is on other blogs or other places. It's exclusive to this publication. But it's very strategic in nature so that you can use it as your guide, really as a growth guide in your business. So that's kind of how the initial vision started for it. And then, CJ, I'm just overwhelmed with the response of the experts that are saying, yes, we've been needing something like this in our space. Again, to get out of the Facebook feeds, to get out of the Facebook groups and really focus on what matters most. And so as we started looking for expert contributors that we personally had relationships with or were recommended by individuals that had worked with these types of experts. It really developed into this full, well-rounded panel of experts that can guide you in each critical area of your business. So, when we think of things like making sure our account is protected or handling that, or if we get in a situation where our account gets suspended, that's where you guys come in. That's where your law firm comes in.
I want to thank
Amazon sellers.
I want to thank you for plugging us big and plugging us.
There it is. But not just one, right? There's tons of other expert contributors, from copywriting to sourcing in China to Amazon compliance to keeping your books, managing your cash flow, ensuring your business. I mean, it's a full scale, every tool that you need kind of in your toolbox to help guide your business in 2018. So that's really where our focus was.
One of the things I'm really digging about the private label insider is that it's a niche within a niche. Okay. I mean, everyone is battling it out in Amazon, but private label is its own beast, its own way of reckoning. And even the Amazon events that are out there, and I travel around the world attending them and speaking at the Amazon events, gearing specifically towards private label, I think, is vital. And I want to talk to you about some of the contributors that you have right at the outset. So they're leaders in their field, and then you're taking the leaders and you're really focusing them on private label needs right now. So I saw Ashlyn Hayden, who's a good friend of mine, also someone we've had on the show, and I see at the events. Tell us a little bit what you're expecting her to teach the private label sellers.
Sure. So Ashlyn obviously has transformed her business from a traditional insurance company to something that's geared specifically towards protecting private label sellers on Amazon. And so she offers all kinds of coverage for private label sellers and education for private label sellers. And so in the Private Label Insider, you're going to get a unique vantage point from not a State Farm agent or these other guys who are just going to give you a blanket coverage. It's going to be very geared towards you. So she's going to be arming you with things like why it's important to insure your business, how to best do that, the things to focus on most with insuring your business. And it's just really going to allow us to take a step back and go, because really, CJ, right, this is probably one that most people don't do. They don't take the time to invest money into protecting their business, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, it's vital.
So, absolutely.
My history is a trial lawyer. I mean, I always represent entrepreneurs, but I was a trial lawyer, and sellers need insurance, not just so much in case someone gets hurt by their product, but to defend them, to actually pay for the defense lawyers, or else you're like easy hanging fruit. I mean, then you're just getting extorted.
Sure.
I'm also really interested, and I don't know Sam Boyd, we haven't met yet, but I see he's involved in sourcing in China. We have full-time staff in China, and I think this is something private label sellers really need to know about. So what are you hoping that the private label sellers are going to learn from Sam?
Yeah, so Sam has a unique vantage point with his company, Guided Imports, as they actually are boots on the ground in China. Their whole company is based in China. Now, they have extra staff, spread throughout the world, but their core operations is in China. What that allows them to do is allows them to have direct relationships with factories and personally vet those factories. So, for what a lot of people teach of going on Alibaba or these other sites, you have no experience with that company, and you don't know. You don't know what type of quality you're dealing with. And so where Guided Imports comes in with boots on the ground in China is they can actually visit those factories, and they actually offer a full A to Z service that you bring their product idea to them, they'll find the right factory, they'll negotiate your pricing, they'll come up with a product manual that outlines exactly how your product needs to be produced and manufactured. They'll handle all of the shipping and logistics to get it to you wherever you're located. And then it's up to you to get it launched and get it optimized on Amazon. So their company is amazing. We personally use them in our business. We know a lot of people who have leveraged their resources and their expertise in order to make sure they're protected from that standpoint.
I got to tell you, that's a huge endorsement that when you work with someone individually and then you bring them on board, I mean, there's nothing that shows more confidence that you use them and that you're happy with them and that they're coming on board and you trust their information. Mm-hmm. So that's really, really, I think, a huge, huge endorsement. Who else would you like to really identify as the contributors? They think that private label sellers not only need to know from them, but also need to hear from them specifically to private label.
Sure. So, one of the big topics on Amazon is how do you get ranked? How do you kind of manage through all of their algorithm changes and get optimized? And so we actually have a lead copywriting expert. Her name is Lisa Satora. I can't remember her stats. I think it's worked with sellers over 15 countries. I want to say it's in the thousands of products that she's helped actually create copy. And actually in this first edition, I'm super excited. So here's a little sneak peek into her content, but she's going to be bringing content around, are you mobile ready? A lot of us, we focus on our desktop because that's where we spend most of our time building our businesses, but that's not how customers spend their time. It's on mobile. So she's going to be dropping some really good information around how to make sure you're mobile ready and the best way to do that. So she's one that I'm super excited about that's going to be involved also.
I got to tell you, we are seeing the same exact thing. Like we're having our website redone and rebuilt. Also, if you're watching this live, you can plug in some questions and we'll try and answer them live. And mobile is everything. I mean, if you look at me, I'm a bit older than you, but even you're a bit dated, right? The younger generation, it's all about their phones. We just hired a whole team of journalists to help come up with content and stay on top of the news also when it comes to what, our little piece of the river. And all these guys, they just everything's on their phones. I don't even know if they even own laptops anymore. So mobile is absolutely vital. I also see Joe Hansen is involved in at least the inaugural issue. Tell us about Joe. I mean, he is one of the geniuses out there in our field.
Yeah, Joe, I know he was part of creating the Prosper Show that happens every year, along with his partner there. And so, these guys just have just such a huge background and knowledge of how Amazon works, how to scale and grow a business on Amazon. And they're just going to be bringing some incredible information. I'm not going to share with what he's bringing in a first edition. It's going to be a surprise, but it's spot on with what we need to be hearing right now as we are, right here at the beginning of Q2 for 2018. We need to dig in deep to make sure that we're reaching our goals this year, and he's going to help us do that with his content.
Who else would like to talk about the main contributors?
Sure. So another big one for us is that private label sellers typically struggle with is Amazon marketing. It's a pain point for a lot of individuals. Why? Because it's detailed. It takes time. It takes energy in order to make sure you're doing it effectively. And if you don't, it costs you lots of money that goes literally down the toilet. And so if you're not doing it properly, that's going to be important. So we actually have a few contributors that are going to be speaking on this topic because it's so critical. We've got Brian Johnson from PPC Scope, and he's going to be bringing, again, very targeted information. He's going to be talking about how to leverage your PPC campaigns on Amazon to target your customers, not necessarily keywords, but how to use that process in order to get the best customers and get that keyword list really dialed in to who's actually going to buy your product. We have Franz Jordan from Sellix, which I think you have some experience with Franz, and he's going to, again, be bringing some very important information around how to effectively market your products on Amazon.com. And then we have a couple others that are going to be doing that. Better AMS, Taylor from Better AMS, he's going to be coming in and speaking to us about headline ads and some of the other features just besides PPC. So really, these guys are just going to be hammering us hard of how to make sure we're being successful in our Amazon marketing.
Like I tell you, it seems like you've definitely attracted some of the best and the brightest and the most experienced out there. Yes. I also like how you're going to help sellers expand globally. I don't know if my perspective is skewed because I love to travel, but I love the fact there's going to be some interesting articles about how to deal with VAT, how to grow globally. And to me, I mean, that's what I love. We all see things from our own perspective. To me, I think that's a great benefit that sellers need to know. The U.S. market is huge, and it's the number one market, but there are other gigantic markets out there, Germany and Japan and all across the EU. And I guess UK is no longer part of that, but it's another huge, huge market.
Yes. Yeah, when you think of all the work that goes into building a private label product, right? So it typically, a typical timeline is 4 to 5 months to do it right. Some people cut corners and do it very, very much quicker than that, and that's not the right thing to do. But it's important that you take your time and make sure that the product is right, the quality is there, all of those critical things. But if you think about that 4 or 5 months it takes to develop a product, why not expand into these other marketplaces? And we've got the experts that are going to be showing you how to do that and speaking to those specific things that you need to be careful on as you move into the space. So Simply VAT, Claire and Alex from Simply VAT, they're going to be jumping in and talking about VAT taxes and compliance, because again, you don't want to get in trouble in these other countries. It's going to get challenging to deal with that, especially if you're a US seller. But what I would encourage people to do is they're thinking about their business, taking that private label product you've already developed, it's already live in the US, with a few changes, with some few copy changes, some translations, setting up an Amazon EU account, and then taking advantage of their combined shipping for all of their EU countries. Why not? You're leaving money on the table if you're not. And so it just takes a little bit of work and partnering with the right people in order to make that happen and to kick it off.
I think that sellers need to know the timeline for developing your products. You got to talk to someone or read the Private Label Insider, read what Sam Boyd has to say. Because if you guys are taking 4, 5, 6 months to get your product to market, the Chinese are doing it in 4 or 5 weeks. So you really need to get your stuff in order and move it along. I think much, much faster. I think that is absolutely vital that you bring it not only to market, but you bring it to multiple markets. Also, to protect your private label intellectual property rights, not just here in the U.S., but if you're sourcing in China, you got to take your rights there so you can stop your factory from screwing you over and selling your stuff out the back door. I mean, it is absolutely vital because they copy brands in anticipation of them being successful.
Sure.
So it's really important that you get on this stuff. And this is really, really great information. Let me ask you a little bit more. One of the hot topics right now are sales tax. And I saw you got Jennifer Dunn from Tax Jar involved in the magazine. What are you hoping that private label sellers are going to learn here?
Yeah, again, anything to do with taxes is just always hard to navigate. Again, thinking of myself when I came from the business world into actually owning my own business, this is one that it just was completely a tough topic for me to master just because of the complexity of it. And we know that the sales tax topic right now is super hot. Supreme Court's obviously dealing with it. States are starting to take action to require individuals like Amazon and Walmart to actually start collecting that sales tax. But the burden is still on us as sellers to submit and remit that tax based on the differing requirements of all of these states. It could be monthly, it could be quarterly. There's so many intricate pieces just within this one topic of sales tax. And again, if you don't do it right, you will get hammered, you'll get penalized. And that eventually obviously costs us money that we shouldn't have to pay out. And so I love that Jennifer is jumping in with us from Tax Jar. I consider them, again, we use them for our business personally. I know a lot of other sellers that do, but she's just going to be bringing the relevant information now from a tax standpoint of what's changing and what we need to be prepared for. So really, that's the big thing. We always need to be preparing for what's next, and she'll be able to kind of give us that guidance because they have those connections in with what's happening in that particular piece.
You know, also, I got to tell you, now that we're talking about this and private label and sourcing in China and sales tax, there's a group, the Merchants Guild is being developed right now. I hope to have more news for everyone soon, where one of the challenges that the Merchants Guild is going to do is to challenge the sales tax laws as they exist right now. Paul Raffleson, he's a law professor at Pace University here in New York, is spearheading that. Bernie Thompson is involved, and this is going to be vital. And now also, if you add our President Trump, and this potential trade war and these tariffs that might be coming on board, this is vital stuff. So as you're developing your private label products, you better keep abreast of what's going on. One of the topics in our meeting with our journalistic team is what is going to happen with these tariffs? How far is this going to go? What products are you going to be able to source and what products are you going to be able to sell? I mean, this is important stuff. So love President Trump, hate President Trump, or give a shit about Stormy Daniels or not. As sellers, as business people, we have to keep an eye on what's going on with these tariffs because it could affect your sourcing, could affect your sales prices. This is in good and bad. I mean, if the tariffs now help protect Americans who are selling online, maybe it's a good thing. But if it raises the costs of sourcing, maybe it's bad. So I think this is vital news that really needs to be addressed.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. I got a question here. Damien asks, out of your experience, is it crucial to do the cross promotion via Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest when selling on Amazon, or do you think it's totally irrelevant when it comes to marketing? What are your thoughts on the cross promotion?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we were talking about expanding internationally too, just increasing your footprint. I think, when we think about cross promoting anything, I think it's important to get it in those different social channels. The other thing too for us, CJ, is we know based on studies that have been done that it takes 3 or 4 exposures to a product before a sale actually happens. And all of the end of the pieces that he mentioned, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, all those areas are where people are living now. They're literally spending hours and hours a day. So if you can get your products positioned in the right way and promoted in the right way in all of those social channels, I think it's important. And there's tools that can help you simplify that out there so that you're not having to individually do that. So I would definitely investigate which tool works best for you to make that process easy. You don't want to spend a lot of time, but it is important. It's an important piece.
I tell you, I agree 100%. Over the last month or so, I have not had the time to go on Facebook and do live and post my reviews and all sorts of other stuff. And the traffic has sort of gone down. We also see it with the private label sales. You never know if you're going to be the next brand to go viral or just grow in your next big niche. So, Damien, I agree. I think you need to be everywhere simultaneously as much as you can. And I think this will be discussed in the magazine a bit. Cross promotion, multiple promotions, great pictures, great verbiage, great listings. These things are all vital for private label sellers. They're absolutely vital. And what you're going to see from the contributors in the initial edition of the magazine, you're going to read about all this types of stuff. And from what I'm seeing, from my perspective, you're going to get real life information that you can use as soon as you read it. When I get on a plane, I usually take a stack of magazines and I highlight and I take notes. I think you're going to see that in the private label insider right away of information that you can start using as you're reading it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think it's going to be really focused around strategic action-based material. And that's what we've been encouraging and pushing our contributors to make sure that it's focused in that area so that, again, it's a tool that you implement immediately, like you're saying. So I agree fully.
Vital stuff. Okay, I think this has been great. Is there anything you want to say, do, plug that we haven't covered?
Yeah. So we are getting ready to drop our edition here in just a few days. So we're wrapping up our final edits on our first edition. All of our articles are in. So we're just finishing up some fine details to make sure that it looks good for you guys. Again, our goal is to have this fully interactive where you can interact with the articles, get additional resources outside of just the content that's included in here, which is already good enough, but we're going to expand it even more. So I would just encourage CJ, anyone who is interested in going and signing up for that first edition, jump over to theprivatelabelinsider.com. You'll see a price that's absolutely ridiculous for the amount of value you're going to be getting for this every single month. And one of the things on another one of these interviews that a contributor said was, I love that we're going to be hearing from those same voices every single month. It's not going to be a random person in on a webinar or an interview. It's going to be those same consistent voices, again, that are those leading industry experts that we can hear from every month. And you're going to see a lot of them are going to be building on some of the topics as they take you through the important components. So yeah, I would just encourage anyone to jump over to theprivatelabelinsider.com, get subscribed early, and our first edition is going to be dropping super soon.
Well, let me do the plug, because you're really professional. I want to get more in the trenches, okay? Sure. These are some of the absolute experts that you're going to hear from. I know many of them personally, like Rachel Greer Cascadia. Rachel Greer, I don't really like her personally, okay? We don't really mesh that well, although I did give her a ride in an Uber when she had to get to a family event. But I got to tell you, she is smart as a tack. So you're going to hear from Rachel Greer. You heard about Jennifer Dunn at Tax Jar, just leaders in the field. Gil Lang is a thought leader in terms of getting your products into Europe. I mean, just a fantastic, smart guy. We talked about Lisa, talked about Joe. So I'm fumbling with my papers right here. Connor Gillivan of Virtual Hiring really knows his stuff. I don't know him personally, but I've heard nothing but great things about his knowledge. And Nathan Kolba, you've got on here. I'm really looking forward to hearing Sam Boyd's and reading what his thoughts are on sourcing in China. China is not only your number one threat as a private label seller, they're your number one cooperator, because you can have everything made there really quickly and super high quality. The days of Chinese products, being low quality are just way over. They make everything there. You also have Taylor Bertrand coming. You have Ben Aldern. I mean, you just have top people who are going to be giving you information all in one place. To me, this is going to be a type of magazine that I used to stack on my shelves as a reference material to see, okay, what is Rachel saying about whatever the topic is and following it along. I know in our article, we're going to be addressing really first an overview of what we're going to do. And then we're going to tell you how to do your own trademark, how to deal with copyright, how to protect yourself, how to protect yourself in China, how to protect yourself in the United States. So I think each issue is going to learn, you're going to learn something, you're going to take something out of it, and then the information is going to be cumulative in nature, where you got to save these things. I mean, I print a lot of stuff out. I keep it in a 3-ring notebook. I'm still kind of old school. But to me, this is going to be like sort of like the encyclopedia of being a private label seller. So I am not shy about plugging things that I think are great. And I think the Private Label Insider is going to be absolutely fantastic because you've got terrific contributors and real world knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. We're just thrilled, and not only with the amount of contributors that we initially, we were just wanting around 10 to 15, CJ. And the overwhelming response was huge of individuals saying this is needed. I want to make sure that the right information is out there. And so I agree. These topics are timely, and it's going to be fun to use this as our guide.
Okay, now, so theprivatelabelInsider.com. Also, I want to do a last minute plug here. Amazon Smiles. Not only do all of us make our living somehow connected to Mr. Bezos and Amazon.com, but we also shop there. I just ordered more tables and chairs because we're adding more staff to our team here. If you shop through Amazon Smiles, you can pick any charity you want, and Amazon then donates a small portion of your purchase to the charity. So I'm taking down the Private Label Insider right now, and I'm going to put the charity that I really hope you shop through and you pick. It's called the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. A buddy of mine lost his son Ty to brain cancer, and it was absolutely awful. He suffered for close to 2 years. But my buddy Lou and his wife Cindy turned their personal tragedy into absolutely triumph by creating this charity. So please shop through Amazon Smiles, pick the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. Every little bit helps, and you'd be surprised at how little our government funds pediatric cancers as compared to other things, okay? There's a lot more money that went into development of Viagra and Cialis than goes into pediatric cancers. So Amazon Smiles, and please pick the Ty Lewis Campbell Foundation. And thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, you can post them. They'll get answered by either me or Brandon. And I'll see you guys soon. Thank you very much. And Brandon, thank you again.
Awesome. Thanks, CJ.